Evening all, tally-ho, pip-pip, what and all that. Right, we're playing War Thunder. So if you're, I guess, watching these videos, then you're probably listening to a lot of squad waffle. This is the first one where we're not going to do that. Mainly because I was just playing solo today, and I thought it might be worth just maybe having a conversation about this game. Let's start with the obvious. It's a free-to-play game, so it's free. I mean, you know, it is pay to win. If you want to invest hundreds of dollars in this game, you can certainly do that. But at the end of the day, you'll only be playing, you know, high-level players anyway. So I don't see it as too much of a problem. It's a World War II fighter sim, and basically, if you're familiar with the World of Tanks concept, this is its competition. World of Planes is out, or rather I think it's soon now, and it's a load of bollocks. This is better. This is I just, again, that's my opinion. I think this is something that you know, I think a lot of people have told me this is better, so I gave this a go, you know, as opposed to having had another go on the other one. And this is a lot more fluid, and to be honest, a lot more fun. It is, I think, technically still in beta. I could be wrong on that, but I think this is it's going to be a much more expanding product. So, for example, what they have at the moment is planes. Over time, what they're going to include is the ground elements. So you're going to have battles of, you're going to have other players being the tanks and the, you know, the ground crew. You're then also going to have other players being the naval crew. So you basically have a World War II simulator where you could also be the ships, which is nice. I think that's really nice. And I think first impressions, obviously, you know, hopefully you've seen the videos so far. Excellent graphics, excellent gameplay. A bit sketchy on the physics, but that's because I'm playing arcade. There's a lot of depth to this game. There is the ability to do missions, the ability to do historical battles, very much real-world based battles. So once you drop your bombs, you've got to go land again and refuel and rearm and all that good stuff, etc., etc. So it's really good. Again, this is one of these products where I think they really do understand their market, because they've made the game incredibly accessible across the board, and that's why they've just hit 3 million users. And this isn't a game you can multitask. This is unlikely a game that you'll have multiple accounts on. I could be wrong, but generally I don't see why you'd bother. So that does mean that pretty much 3 million people, or more or less, are playing this game, which is incredible. When you align that to some of the other games that I play, I mean, even DayZ has 1.7 million users. Again, debatable how many of them are playing. I think Dust has got something like, well, I don't know, but they're only getting 4,500 peak log-ons a day for Dust. So there's a lot of compelling, I guess, you know, discussion around this game being quite a success already, because again, it does feel that, you know, generally when you log on, you've got about 30,000 people online, so that's great, and there's usually at least 1,000 battles going on simultaneously, so it's all good stuff. And I think so far one of the key things I think I've really got from it is that pretty much that is satisfying. I've never had a game which rewards you in both an arcadey but also a slightly simulation way for the excellence of hand-eye coordination like this game does. And I love it. I really do. I think I'm blown away by how good this game is. I must be, because I'm actually doing regular series of videos on it. It's a game where you log in and you can pretty much have some memorable experience within the first 10 minutes. And this is a prime example. I just logged on. I had a wicked dogfight with that Hurricane, and we'll talk about the planes in just a moment. But I think let's just explain why there's something about this game that I think really does inspire incredible moments. And it could be, I think, the material, because obviously this is a real world equivalent. This is a simulation of obviously what happened in the Second World War. I mean, obviously, you know, that's not a light subject, but at the end of the day, this is an incredible, I think. I don't want to say homage to it, because it's a game, but it is quite incredible, I think, how they've gone for as much realism as they possibly can. Now, before I waffle any further and get all deep and meaningful, let's take this big bomber out. This Hurricane I've got has got rockets on it. Now, I know that these guys have been dogfighting this. They call it a Catalina, as you see, and it's basically a great big flying bomber. Now, we're going to F this in 2 seconds, and Goodbye. So what that was is that was an incredibly lucky shot for me. Single rocket to its tail and blew the tail right off. And as you can see, he's having a bad time basically. And if any of them manage to get out, well, good luck to them. And that's something I think the game is filled with. Is every map will give you a memorable experience. So well worth it. And again, it is free. I haven't paid a penny on this. This is with Dust and that I've done boosters and so on and so on. With this, I haven't needed to really spend a penny. I think I had some good advice when I started. Josh and Nano gave me some really good advice. So if you're interested in playing this, then do these things. Firstly, go to the Steam download. Try and download it on Steam. That's what I did, and I think it's good. And then join the SquadB public group. Just apply and you'll get in. And then come play with us, because I think, and there's comms in games. You don't need a team speak. You don't even need to talk. As long as you can hear us, then that's cool. Because I think it's, people like Nano and Josh, they were so helpful. They told me all of the little things to click, press, and do that gave me the best, kind of setup in the game. So, the best starting guns, the best way to kind of set your crews and so on. So try and do that. I think I'd heartily recommend you do that. So what basically I found with this game is there's a number of different races. When you say races, that's stupid because they're all human. Different countries. So you have American, you have German, you have British, you then have Russian, and then Japanese. And these are, I guess, the kind of major warring races, if you like, from the Second World War. And each of them then has effectively, we call it a research tree, which is the wrong thing to call it. It's effectively a couple of dozen planes per side, maybe more in some case, maybe less in others. And you then have and they're level based. Now, again, the beauty of the matchmaking means that you're rarely going to be put into a position where you're going to get, proto stomped, as we would call it. Because it may happen once or twice, but I think, probably out of 100 matches I've played so far, it only happened once. And generally, I think it match makes so that most people are always in the same, roughly the same skill. When you start a new race, you start right at the bottom, and you start in biplanes. So you start in the old, literally the old Red Baron style biplanes, which actually are not too bad. They're not perfect, but I tell you what, they're manoeuvrable, and they are quite enjoyable. So everybody starts there, and you're all basically started on the same rung. So if you start this game right now, you're at no disadvantage to anyone else. It's not a case of I started it a month ago, therefore I'm in a better position, because it's not. It really will, and you can only use certain planes in certain battles. So out of the group of us playing at the moment, I'm the noob, in every sense of the word, in fact. And basically, I'm the one who everybody has had to kind of downgrade from their really good Spitfires and stuff back into things like Hurricanes, so that they can play in the same team with me. So everybody's on a very nice level playing field. So that's, again, big thumbs up. I think the planes also are very good. You don't just have fighter planes, you have bombers. And the bombers actually are pretty compelling. I find them fascinating, because like this thing here, I'm actually not, I honestly didn't try and ram him. I completely balls that up. I was actually going to try and rocket him and then and then lift up. But he was a bomber, so this is where rockets become in use, because as you saw, I shot that Catalina down with a single rocket, and this is the kind of thing that I think once you get comfortable with the game, you can take on a player who could have level 20 effectively, but who's in a level 4 plane, and you're not at a massive disadvantage between you. Only his skill and I guess experience is the difference, which probably it should be, but again, he has no other benefit over you, relatively speaking. I think also the way that the planes are, I think as well, is very fluid and nice. I know some people are using joysticks and power levers and stuff like that to kind of do it. If you're into that stuff, then this is the game for you. I'm not. I use mouse and keyboard, and literally I haven't touched any of the settings. I just play as it is, and what I do is just basically have an appreciation that the cursor where your mouse is pointing versus where you're looking is different. Once you get that kind of left hand versus right hand coordination, you'll find that you're absolutely you'll love it. I think you'll be very, very, very comfortable with it. Dogfights are typical of how they used to be. So stay high, as I never do, but stay high as you can, then descend, fire, try and dogfight, try and stay on the person's ass, then shoot them out, as you can see here, then immediately get the hell out when you realize you're being shot yourself and you need to do maneuvers and get the way. It is nice, and the damage of the planes is exceptionally well done. So, one hit can kill you. That is the scary thing about this game, in that I was flying my absolutely pimped up tits Spitfire, and I came over a rise, literally like this, as you saw there, and he just got a couple of strafes off of me, and only one bullet, it seemed, to hit me, but it hit me right in the cockpit, and it killed the pilot, and that was it. I was done. And I think it's rare that happens, because you could be strafing a plane for minutes and never take it down, but it could be that one lucky hit, the critical hit that takes out a wing, or even just takes out a rudder, that means the difference. And I think there's very few games that have done damage as right as these guys have. And as you see, that has complete balls up for me. Ramming, unfortunately, is possible, and I'm afraid it was a tactic used, obviously, in the war, and I think it's a frustrating one. You've seen me ram stuff. I know I'm a dick for doing it, but unfortunately, I think at the end of the day, you can't really hate somebody for ramming, because there's no benefit or loss really to it. The way the game works is there is an in-game currency as well. They're called silver lions. If you want to go premium and spend money on it, you get gold lions, which I guess give you a bit more leverage with your money. But every round you do gives you currency. Every plane costs currency. Upgrades cost currency. But I think at the moment, the money, quote, has never been an issue in this game. I've always had way more than I ever need. So that's good as well. Even if you're a bad player, you're not going to be punished for it. You're always going to have this ability to have money to keep playing the game. Now, again, I could be wrong, but so far I've not experienced any negativity from there being a, quote, economy in the game. But again, nice idea. You've got this kind of semi-economy that does, I think, limit as you get into the higher echelons. You can't then proto-stomp effectively all the time, because there is then also a resource limitation on you as well. So geniusly coded, incredibly well designed stuff. And I guess that leads me on to the final point now as well. I mean, even if this is a beta or not, it's so well designed, and I think this is an absolute testament to Gaijin, or I don't know how you say, Gaijin or whatever, but they are probably, I mean, Nano works in the industry and he says they're good, and I have to agree, they seem very, very good. I mean, just to the point where I think they have a real skill of creating games. I think the system behind it is satisfying as well, but it's a compelling game that doesn't rope you in completely all the time. It will give you a very casual but very enjoyable experience. And it doesn't kind of leave you ranting and raving when you get owned, because at the end of the day, it's casual, it's well done in casual style gaming, while having, for the serious players among you, who want to do something quite exceptional. Oh, now that was a bit of a balls up. No, bollocks. Oh, well, there we go. Well, I class that as a survival, because the turret's still spinning. So there we go. But I think, that's just a good example of a round, very quickly, very quick, succinct rounds where basically you're done. And at the end of it, you get to review how you've done, and you get experience, you get, income, and you get, like, obviously medals, and you eventually start to unlock upgrades. So, again, beautifully designed. It's all the good stuff that you get from game design, such as, rewarding persistence, and so on. So I think it's a great game, and I think if you're going to give it a go, try and do it with a group. It doesn't have to be us, but you certainly, if you want to, you're more than welcome to come play with us. Just come to our Steam group and get in, and then you'll be able to see when we're playing. And then all we do is we use in-game audio, which is nice and workable. So give it a go, and hopefully see you up in the big blue very soon.